From being a complete beginner to becoming fluent in English language, I have navigated through this entire journey of learning English all alone, on my own, without seeking any professional help, without engaging in a conversation with a proficient speaker of English, or without having been raised in an environment where I could have conversation, one-on-one conversation with other speakers, or where people tend to speak in English originally. Instead, I was born and raised in an environment where people tend to speak in Hindi, which is their native language, and hardly do they speak in English as long as it is important or as long as they have to take their interview. And so today, in today's video, I am going to talk about my personal journey of learning English all alone. And along the way, I'll also talk about the moment which encouraged me to continue learning English. I am Shaheen. If you are new here, consider subscribing to my channel as long as you find this video to be informative or thought provoking. My journey of learning English did not start from a very young age. Instead, I became inclined towards learning English language after the completion of my basic education, after I completed my schooling. Because back in the school days, firstly, I used to study in a Hindi medium school. Therefore, there was barely a prospect of me speaking with someone who could already speak in English or who would be likely to speak with me in English language. And plus, I was also quite concerned about securing better marks in back in the school days, so that I can secure a better job and so that I can secure a better position in my entire class. Therefore, I had decided that although I am quite passionate about learning English, I will learn it after I complete my entire schooling, because by that time I would have plenty of time to dedicate on learning English. And after I completed my entire schooling, uh, as we all know that after we complete board exams, our because our results of board exam gets declared somewhere after 3 months or 4 months. So similarly, even in my case, I had 3 months of spare time, 3 months of free time, which I could easily and effectively dedicate on learning English. And it was then when I started to make effort towards learning English and towards becoming fluent. However, due to the lack of enough experience back then, I had no idea where to start, how to start, what is important, and what is the tips or strategies that I should implement in order to speak English fluently and in order to become fluent in it. And therefore, initially I started learning English through wrong methods, through inefficient methods. Initially, I solely relied on learning grammar. I would spend hours on mastering grammar, because back then I would believe that mastering grammar can ultimately lead me to become fluent in English. And as long as I master grammar, as long as I ponder over all the aspects and all the chapters of grammar, I won't be able to become fluent in English. And in order to become fluent in English, grammar is an integral aspect and it cannot be avoided. So for the first initial months or days, I solely relied on learning grammar. And however, after learning it, I realized that it was not quite helping me, because back then I was learning English in chunks. When we solely rely on learning grammar in order to learn English, it's it simply means that we are learning in chunks. We are learning a language in fraction, in words, in bits and pieces. which is not a quite effective manner to speak to become fluent in English or to learn it. And therefore, after a few months, I remember when I found this tips, or I found this strategy to be insufficient. I was just randomly scrolling through my phone, and to my surprise, I came up with a video. While scrolling through my phone, I came up with a video. In that video, there was a woman who was delivering a speech, and in that speech, that woman talked about the importance of adopting habit. In that speech, that woman talked that if we continue to do one thing, if we continue to practice one thing consistently for the next 21 days in a row, it eventually becomes our habit. It becomes very easier for us to incorporate it into our daily routine. So after watching that video, I thought it would be great if I implemented this idea of adopting a habit by practicing it for consistently for the next 21 days in a row into my practicing speaking in English. And it was then when I actually started to speak in English every day. And after I practiced consistently for the next 21 days, I could observe significant progress in my speaking skills. Although I could not speak fluently, I could still speak easily. In a manner, speaking every day for 21 days had helped me to ease into speaking, and it had made it easier for me to become comfortable with speaking. And since then, I started to look for alternatives. I started to reading a lot. I started to immerse myself into English by watching videos and by listening to others. And in this entire journey of acquiring English language, I never sought any professional help. In fact, I did not have conversation with others, even though it was easier for me and it was quite accessible for me, because I wanted to see personally how it is to learn a language without seeking any professional help and without engaging in one-on-one conversation with someone. After that, I started to use apps. I started to use online apps. As we all know that there are plenty of, yeah, apps we could use to practice speaking in English every day. And by consistently following all these steps and by consistently implementing new strategies, new ways, and without relying only on one method of practicing speaking in English, I eventually became fluent in it. Thanks for watching to this video. Consider subscribing to my channel, and yeah, that's all.